All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Delmar, and this is my documentary film for my Exploring Daoism class. So I went ahead and broke this down into 4 different sections. I'm going to be talking about the beginning of the semester. I'm going to be talking about I Ching and Confucianism. Then I'm going to talk about the Taoist body, and then I'm going to have my conclusions. So for the beginning of the semester, of course, Dr. Zhang explained to us how to say her name correctly. And this is something that I personally was super nervous about. I never enjoy getting my professors' names wrong. I always want to make sure that I'm pronouncing it correctly to the best of my ability. And so Dr. Zhang, comforted us with that and let us know how to pronounce her name the correct way. I even have on my first day of class notes her name and then like the like how to sound it out, phonetic spelling, so I could remind myself because I hate getting people's names wrong. So on that first day, Dr. Zhang talked about the Chinese way of thinking and that nothing is permanent. And so with that, she also talked about that change is inevitable and nothing is permanent. And so this is just kind of the Chinese way of thinking. And then the third thing that we talked about is that Confucianism is the #1 religion in China. And so after all that, we talked about Lao Tzu, and I found this really awesome quote, and I'd like to share it with you guys. Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. And I think this is a really good quote that kind of sums up Taoism as a whole, but it's also in like a super easy way for me to understand. So just a little bit about Lao Tzu, because we did talk about him for quite a bit of class. So he was born in 604 BC, and he is known as the founder of Taoism. But he was a historian in his village, and he knew the past of his village, and he decided to leave. But before he left his village, someone begged him to leave his knowledge behind that he had, because after he was gone, there was no one else there that knew everything. So with the founding of Taoism, he really helped shape Chinese culture and society. Taoism has made China what it is today. And also, some historians believe that Lao Tzu could have been Buddha. And so I think that's a really interesting connection that they may have made. Wouldn't it be super interesting if this super influential figure of Taoism could have also been Buddha? That's wild. Okay, and then the next few things that I want to talk about are I Ching and Confucianism. So I Ching is a form of divination that replaced oracle bones. And so oracle bones were usually like pieces of animal bones, and depending upon the bone, like what type of bone, whether it was like rabbit or coyote or cow or anything like that, depending upon the type of bone, it had a meaning. And they usually would take them and they would mix them up, and then they would throw them in a turtle shell. And based on the turtle shell is how they would read the future. But I Ching and oracle bones is just a form of divination. And for this, I like to use the example of modern day tarot cards. That's something that I think a lot of people now can understand as far as divination and what that means. So for I Ching, you could ask similar questions, such as, will I make the university honors program? And so these types of questions can be asked. And so I Ching itself is composed of 64 hexagrams and 8 trigrams. When we did this example in class, I used a website, and the question I asked was about will I make the university honors program? And so my assignment actually ended up telling me to basically have faith and be patient, and it will be mine. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it was a really cool exercise to be able to look at that and then analyze it and figure out what the answers are. So that is I Ching. It's just a form of divination for Daoism. So the next thing that I want to talk about is Confucianism. And while Confucianism has been a pretty vital part of our entire semester this year, I just wanted to give a couple of just baseline details about it. So Confucianism is the #1 religion in China, and it's the biggest competitor of Daoism. And so at the beginning of the semester, we talked about how Daoism is one of China's biggest products, its biggest and most well-known products, but it's not very known by the people in China. So that's one thing. People loved and hated Confucius. So he was either people really loved him or people really hated him, and it seemed like there was no in between. And it has been said that Confucianism was the earliest form of socialism. Okay, and then the next part that I want to talk about is the Taoist body. And so I actually have some pictures of when professor brought us white tea and black tea to class. And so these are just my pictures. I believe that cup, or the picture on the left, is the white tea. And it was really cool. It's very good. It was really awesome to be able to hold an authentic teacup in your hand and to be able to participate in something like that. I think was really cool and very special. And then you can see the picture on the right was before we were officially served. My cup was empty and I got a picture of the professor in the background. So, okay. And then the next thing that I wanted to talk about is holistic medicine and Chinese traditional medicine. So the meridians and the channels within our bodies, there are 12 main meridians, and those all correlate to special organs. So for example, the big toe lateral side is connected to your liver. So you could do treatment on your big toe lateral side, and it would bring benefits to your liver organ. The second detail that we talked about with holistic medicine is the aging cycles, and how the aging cycles vary for women versus men. So the aging cycle for a woman is every 7 years, and the aging cycle for a man is every 8 years. And so they go through that natural cycle, and once they end or near the end of that cycle, that's when the body starts to slow down and you start to get older, and you're just you have less vitality. So that's the aging cycle. So traditional Chinese medicine versus Western medicine. So in traditional Chinese medicine, they prefer to diagnose via the whole system, versus where Western medicine would just treat the target area. So if you have a headache, for example, Western medicine is just going to treat the head. But in traditional Chinese medicine, they're going to say, okay, your head hurts. Well, what could be making your head hurt? Is it something else within your body? And they try to take a look at the system as a whole versus just that one selected area. And then The next part that I wanted to talk about is the 5 elements and how they are connected to the human body. So we've got those 5 different elements, and they are connected each in different ways, and those are connected just like the meridians are. So for example, the wood element is connected to the head, and so certain certain things can be done with that. And Dr. Zhang showed us a chart and how all that works, and what element is connected to what body part. Okay, and in conclusion, not only can Taoism be a religion, but it is also a way of life. It is a very old and is a founding pillar of today's Chinese culture and society. It can provide spiritual guidance as well as physical guidance. I also believe that Taoism strives for physical longevity and immortality while promoting dipping into the guilty pleasures. Individualism is very important, and pleasure is a fundamental right. And that is the end of my Taoism film documentary. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.